Cliche YouTube greeting, everybody. It's your man boy, Acid Ketchum here, and I want to talk a little bit more about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, I just beat the game yesterday, so my thoughts are fresh inside my brain, and I want to tell you the top 5 best and worst things. Oh my God, Cat! You're gonna get locked out. You're gonna get locked out, Cat. You're gonna get locked out, Cat. Oh, I'm recording. I'm recording. Oh. And the pull-up bar. No, you stay out. You stay out. You stay out. It's not time. It's not time. Okay. It's not time. How's my hair? Top 5 best and worst things about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The number 5 best thing about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the Pokemon Center /store /TM machine, where there's this new thing you can create TMs from parts you collect from animals. Now, the subtext of that is you are killing Pokemon out in the wild and harvesting their feathers, their bits and bobs, their dusts and pieces. It never quite says, like, their horn, but it does say their down, which is like their bird feathers and stuff. It's kind of Fuecoco. You go out into these fields, and the Pokemon are all hanging around each other, like dozens of them, and they have none of them fight. And then you show up in your let's go mode and you just start murdering them. Take that, Psyduck! It was a cool system, but I will say this, they have like 200 TMs in this game, right? You have 6 Pokemon in your party. They can learn 4 moves each. So, quick math, that's 800, no, that's 24 moves, 200 TMs. How are you ever going to use all those TMs? But it was still good. It's still an improvement. Number 5 on the bad list, the graphics, animations, and glitches. Now, I'm putting this on the bottom not because it's the least worst. It's actually probably the most worst, but you already know about this. The biggest problem with this is you get these really great mobilization tools where you can fly across the air, you can jump really high, you can sprint, but things are not keeping up with you. So you're flying through the air, you can't see what's below you. No, you have to walk around slowly. And in fact, the best thing you can do is walk around in circles. So you're walking an area, no Pokemon. You turn around, you're surrounded. So I would have times where I would see a Pokemon I needed. I would walk, progress to a new area, and then they all disappear. And I could turn around, walk to the other area, look back, and see the guy I needed. But if I walked over to it, it was gone. It was gone. The graphics, they look like GameCube graphics. I don't know if you guys have seen side-by-side Pokemon Stadium for the N64. Right? This is like a year 2000 game. Has better animations for their moves than the Pokemon of today. And the graphics look similar. They're not updating these graphics. There are new Pokemon like Vasaluza. It looks like it's got like 12 polygons. One of the legendary Pokemon, it looks like it's got like 14 polygons. They look old, they feel old, and they suck. And it is honestly one of the worst things about this generation of Pokemon is that they can just not catch up. Number 4 on the good list, the Terastilized wild Pokemon. Now, Terastillization is just like the new gimmick. It seems like instead of doing meaningful updates to the games, they do these really glossy and shiny, like, look, you can make a Pokemon holographic is really it. I feel like this is turning into a rant about how I don't like it. And that's because I don't like Terastillization in general. I barely ever used it. It's kind of pointless. It's just an ooh shiny button. Like, it's not a good feature. But when you would find the Terastilized wild Pokemon, there was an extra layer to it, which was you could only catch it if it hit to a certain health and then it would lose its terastillization. You couldn't catch it while it was terastillized. It added an extra layer of depth to that gameplay. They spent so much time making these terastillized cutscenes. Why couldn't you guys take some of that time and spend it on anything else? That's like the thing we probably care about least is what it looks like to throw a Pokemon in your online terastillized battle. And meanwhile, you can't animate someone handing an item to someone. You can't even put an item in their hand. Like, people just go, and you don't even see the item. There's times, there's like this one moment where Koraidon, the legendary guy, goes up to Penny, and he goes to lick her face, and she just stands there like this. And then Koraidon's just like, just in the air. And she's like, whoa! And I was like, what just happened? Moving on to number 4 in the bad category. In case you thought that was supposed to be in the bad, it was actually in the good category. The cities. There are 2 main things you can do in cities. 1 is get food, and 2 is get clothes. Now, the food is such a lazy and boring mechanic. I don't understand even what those buffs do, but it doesn't even matter. There's not just one place to get food, there's like 12. And each one, it's like, would you like an omelet? Would you like crunchy rice? Would you like shrimp? And then if you buy it, it just shows you an image, and then your guy just goes by like, and all your Pokemon show up. Like, you just shared your omelet with 6 Pokemon, with 6 giants? With an alligator? I just shared my omelet with an alligator and a sandcastle ghost. And the other option is clothes. And the clothing option, and maybe someone's going to correct me here, but like, I never found a single store to change my school uniform. I didn't like the school uniform. I noticed they give you 4 different ones at the beginning, so I changed that. But then you can't change out of it. So there's clothing stores, but it's like you can put on a hat, you can put on glasses, you can get a backpack, you can change your shoes, you can change your socks. But you're never going to look as cool as any of the NPCs. The NPCs were cool. There's a bunch of well-designed, cool-looking NPCs. Get ready to be jealous of all of them, because they all look cool. Look at this guy's sweet hair. Look at this chick's sweet hair. I've got the stupidest looking bowl cut there ever was in a school uniform. I want the cool clothes. And then, like in the old games, like you could walk around a city, there'd be stuff happening in buildings. Nothing really happens in buildings here except for this school. And the school sucks. So then there was actually one point I had to get one of these Pokemon evolved, you had to walk it around a lot. So I walked it around the main city. And I was like, I never really explored this city. Let's see what's going on here. The answer is nothing is going on. There is no one to talk to. There's nothing to do. No one is doing anything. Pokemon are not at all integrated into these cities in any way. People walk with them or stand with them, but the Pokemon are not part of this world. There is no trough for horse-like Pokemon to drink at, or nests for flying Pokemon to land on. There are no Machokes building buildings. There's nothing like that. The cities are empty and boring, and the only things they offer you are food and clothes. What is this, the real world? Number 3 on the list of good stuff is the selection of Pokemon. I actually really love, there's 400 Pokemon in this game. The selection they pulled from the other games was pretty dang good. I found myself constantly trying out new people on my team, trading things out, and while initially I felt like, I don't really like anything here, I hit a certain point where it just felt like I had too many Pokemon that I liked. I had a Lucario I took off my team. I didn't even carry him around. I had a Gyarados I trained and then threw away, and that happened a lot. So there's a lot of great Pokemon in these 400, and I kind of look forward to going back and trying to do a challenge run. So I really like the selection of Pokemon, and I give it an A. I give it a solid A. Number 3 on the list of the bad. This is the story in general. The story is bad. The stories are always bad, but it is so boring. It is so boring. With the exception of the few moments that like would pull me in, which is really Arlen and his Mabo Stiff storyline. I thought that was that choked me up a little bit. I like this idea of somebody whose Pokemon is sick. He's trying to get it better. It was really cute. But that being said, the school sucks. The school is awful. You can't even really walk around the school. You like teleport to different places, which is annoying and tedious. And there's not really anything interesting there. There are classes there, but the classes are like the worst thing you can do in this game. Next to just reading the story. Oh my god, the Team Star stuff is so boring. It's so boring. I wish I could tell you what happened, but it kind of just got to this point where I would read 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 passages, and I would just pull out my phone and just start mashing A. Because the truth is, and this brings me to my other thing I really don't like, is there is a illusion of choice constantly. And granted, in the old games, that was there, but like, this is a brand new game, right? And I just don't understand why you're giving me the illusion of choice if you're not going to be okay with me picking the thing you don't want me to pick. Just force it down my throat. You force everything else down my throat. Just why even give me the chance? Nimona in specific has this weird thing where she asks you if you want to be friends. I don't like Nimona. I have no reason to like Nimona. And she asks you at the beginning, do you want to be my friend? And I said no. All I want for her is to not keep showing up and giving me pointless dialogue. But that's what she does. And the whole time I'm like, I told this weasel I didn't want to be her friend. And then at the end, as you can see, she's going, let's be rival friends for life. No. She goes, oh, what was that? You said no? You mean yes? I said no. She goes, oh, please just one more time? Was that a yes? I'm like, no. And I kept clicking no. I clicked no like 20 times just to see what would happen. She never gives in. And eventually you're forced to click yes. And then she shows up at the end of the game like, hey, it's me. It's your best friend. And it's like, how many times do I have to tell this weasel I hate her? I don't like you. I don't like this story. I don't like any of the main characters. I don't like any of them. And yet they stick them together with you at the end. Like, look at these 4 best friends. I don't like any of them. Penny is basically like a terrorist. Arlen is a pretentious guy with like nepotism and mommy issues who's just a total jerk to you. I don't like him. And then everybody shows up at the end and we're like, hey, we did it. We're friends. We're like, no, we're not friends. I don't like any of you. Give me Larry. The second best thing about Scarlet and Violet is the open world and traversing the landscape. The open world's great. The problem with the open world is the graphics. You can't see Pokemon as you are looking for them. But the feeling of flying and climbing and traversing the world with this legendary Pokemon, depending on what version you have, that does a lot of these things for you, that's fun. It's fun. And I found myself like, I wouldn't teleport because I liked traveling, which is a great thing. Like the Spider-Man games have this. You like traveling in the game. You like moving. You like exploring. There's constant items always showing up, which initially really weirded me out because I usually use like finding items as a way to signal to me like you've been here before, there's no items. But they just refill it with items. So you can just keep circling around and exploring and constantly get items. It's both a good and a bad thing because like it made everywhere feel the same. You didn't have to find new areas to get new items. You could just run around in circles and items would spawn. You didn't have to go to new areas to find new Pokemon. Occasionally there'd be like one Pokemon like, oh, I haven't seen you before, and you would find that. But really, it was just like kind of random. Is it Breath of the Wild? No. Is it better than Arceus? No. Is it good? Yeah. Number 2, on the bad, the new Pokemon. I talked a little bit about this in my last video, and I think I'm going to do a list of my least favorite Pokemon on this. But the starters, I think they're kind of all gross. I don't really think they have anything good going for them. I don't like them. I raised Fuecoco. I spent a lot of time with him. I raised him up to his final form. Skeleturge, which is the evolved form of Fuecoco, my wife kept saying looked like a creepy clown, and he does. He looks like a creepy fire clown. I don't like him. Dunsparce is the evolution of Dunsparce. It kind of feels like a joke. Like it feels like they're trolling us. Like they're like, ha ha ha, he hasn't changed at all. Bramblin and Bramblecast. It's a tumbleweed Pokemon. Listen, tumbleweeds are a cool thing. If you don't know, tumbleweeds are actually alive when they blow around. That's cool. I like that. But the design of this... Ugh. God, Toadskool and Toadscruel. Like, this is a first draft? Who approved that? Like, I get how somebody had the idea. It was like, oh, you just turn the tentacle, look, it looks like feet. It looks weird. Orthworm. Okay, I kind of like Orthworm in that it's a worm with 6 arms that pops out. But what is with its weird eyes? Like, you can tell a lot about an animal by its eyes, actually. Predators have eyes on the front. Animals that are prey have eyes on the side of their head because they want to be able to see things around them and not get hunted. Okay? So Orthworm's eyes imply he is a soulless monstrosity. He's not from this world. So in general, this generation, I just think it's got a lot of stinkers that could have used another draft. I think the selection overall is good, but the ones they've added in, pretty bad. Pretty bad. Number 1 on the good list for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it's Larry and Mousehold. Larry, my man, the best gym leader I maybe have ever seen. He brought me pure joy. He is just a hard-working salary man in a business suit having dinner. After you beat him, he invites you to dinner, and then he pays for dinner, and he's like, yeah, it's cool, I'm on salary. Like I've got money. Don't worry about it. And Mousehold is just perfect. It's perfect in every way. It's perfect. Please see my other video for more on Mousehold. Now, the worst thing about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the antiquated battle system. Now, I'm a big fan of the originals. There are elements to the original battle system that are evergreen. I think there are aspects of it like, type advantages and disadvantages that you shouldn't mess with. But there is some stuff that should be messed with. And a lot of it has to do with the text around status abnormalities and the progression of animations during battle. So like, if you get confused, they do confuse ray. They animate the confuse ray. It hits you. The whirl goes around your head. Then it says your Pokemon has become confused. And if it's your turn, it says your Pokemon is confused. And then it triggers whoop, 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 whoop. And then it goes, and then it hit itself in confusion. And it takes like 8 seconds. You guys could have done that in one animation and one text. This isn't a Game Boy game from 1998 anymore. You could speed up that system of communication. Also, how come we're using still 4 moves in 2022? That was not the good thing about the original combat system. You have 200 TMs. Let us have some more moves. Just try something. You guys are releasing a game a year. Try one game where you let us have 16 moves and do 2 per turn or something. Like you can pick a defensive and an offensive. Try something. Like I don't want to terastillize my Pokemon because that is more time it takes to do a single action in combat. I don't want to take 12 seconds to 15 seconds for one action. I want you to take more actions faster. So in summary, is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet a good game? Every bit of me wants to say no. It's not a good game. I don't think it is. But at the same time, I beat it. And I almost got every Pokemon. And I played it for like 4 days. and thinking about going and playing it again. There were aspects of it, I think the core gameplay of exploration and catching Pokemon, it's just always fun. Just is. And there's now, I think, like an itch inside of me, which is to explore and find new Pokemon and level them up and become the champion. And every so often, I just need to do it. But it is clear, and each time, each game keeps getting more and more clear that they are rushing these things out and they just don't have the time to put the polish on it that it needs. We may never get voice acting. We may never get an improved battle system. We may only get 10 to 20% of each Pokemon generation being at all memorable. Tops. And with that, I feel like I am disappointed, but I'm also probably going to play it again. Because at the heart of what Pokemon is catching pets, growing with them, and exploring the world. And those elements are evergreen. The problem is that the people at Game Freak don't seem to understand how to accentuate these elements, and instead seem to just fill it with whatever they can think of as fast as they can. And if that's sandwiches and clothing stores, I don't think they're really getting it. I don't really think they're understanding what's fun about this game. The Pokédex is an underestimated and maybe underutilized tool throughout this. And in Arceus, there was a really great thing that the more you caught, the more information you would get about a Pokemon. And that was the closest I think they've come in a long time to understanding what's fun about these games. Studying animals, learning about them is interesting, and it piques the childlike curiosity to you. When you drop things like a Sinistea and a Banette out into a field, and then you read their Pokedex entries, and they say Sinistea, which is a haunted teacup, can only be found in haunted mansions where people died drinking tea. You're like, what the heck is it doing out in this field, and why isn't there a haunted mansion in this game? You fight Banette, and it says, you catch it, and it says, Banette will be found right behind you in a dark alleyway at night. And you think, wait a second, why didn't I run into a Banette in an alleyway in a haunted mansion level? And that kind of happens on repeat, where you read a Pokedex entry and it tells you something interesting about the Pokemon, but what it says in the Pokedex is not in the world. And because of that, the world feels hollow, and you feel constantly gypped. The information they're telling you, they are not showing you. And you cannot experience the fun that they're trying to convince you is there. Sadly, I'm probably going to play it again soon. So I'm torn, because it's like a bag of chips when you're hungry for dinner. And I saw somebody post on Reddit when the game came out. There was a review that said, a step in the right direction. And the person wrote, it's always a step in the right direction, and we're never there. And that is so true. Game Freak, Nintendo, and Pokemon are never going to give us the game we deserve, sadly. It seems like the cycle they're in, we're always going to get something that's never really what we're imagining it to be. What we imagine Pokemon to be is better than what it is. But somehow, some way, that Pokedex, the other things in this game, they spark my imagination and make me think I'm playing something that's better than what's actually there. So is the game good? No. I think if I was playing this objectively, probably be like a 3 out of 10. It's unfinished. It feels like a ripoff of a Pokemon game. But somehow, while I'm playing it, it pulls something out of me, and I have a good time playing it. And that makes me want to give it like a 7.5. And I'll probably play it again. But there's part of me that feels abused by Game Freak. And I think that's why I feel the need to rant about it. Because it sucks to be in a relationship where it feels like they're not listening to anything you want or anything you like. And they really don't seem to know what to do with their franchise, which is a shame because it's the biggest and best franchise to ever happen to this planet. Felt like it wasn't very funny. It was just kind of like me ranting, but it is what it is. Anyway, guys, that is my list of the good and the bad from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you actually watch this, like, wow, round of applause, okay? Thank you so much. Do the things. I got one other video up here. I'm going to try to keep doing more, but thank you. I love you. Hit buttons, do things, and have a good one. Hope you're doing well. Hope life is great for you. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.